everybody, this is Caitlin Springer from the Florida Orchestra, and today we are going to learn how to play a 3-octave scale. Now this might sound a little bit overwhelming at first if you've never played a 3-octave scale before. That's fine. You've played a 1-octave scale, and if you've played a 2-octave scale, you've already gotten 2/3 of the way through. So we just have to add that last scale block right to the top of what we already know. Now, if you are not familiar with shifting, I highly suggest that you go and take a peek at our shifting series videos so that you can practice the actual art of shifting on your instrument, because that is essential when you're doing a 3-octave scale. We're going to have multiple shifts. So let's get started. We're going to start with a C major 3-octave scale, and what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of block what we already know, and we're going to add that third block to our 2-octave scale that we already know. So it's not going to be, hopefully, not as hard or as challenging as we think, as long as we're just thinking in terms of, I already know how most of this works, and I'm just going to be adding another block on top of what I already know. So let's start with the first octave. Half notes, let's just do it. I want the C major scale in our ear so that by the time we get to that 3rd octave, we know how it should sound. Let's try it out. 1, 2, 1 octave, go. Pretty simple, right? So now we have the C major scale in our ear. I want to go ahead and do the second block. So we're just going to do the 2nd octave normally, staying in 1st position. So let's try that, starting from this middle C. 1, 2, ready, go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that 2nd octave. We're going to adjust the fingering. So instead of staying in 1st position, we're already going to start shifting so that we are in a better position later when we put in our 3rd octave. So let's just see what that looks like. We're going to start off normally, 3rd finger on G. Now we're going to shift from F to G, 1st finger on the D string, so that is our 2nd octave. Now let's just go back down really quick. C, B, A, G, F, so by practicing that going up and down, we've practiced part of our fingering for the 3-octave scale already. So let's do that one more time. This is the new fingering for our 2nd octave. 1, 2, ready, go. Wonderful. So now we've got the first 2 blocks of our 3 blocks of a 3-octave scale. Now let's go from the 2nd octave into the 3rd octave. So what we're going to do, we could do the scale on the way up. This is our C, right? cross over to D, E, and now we're going to shift. So our third finger is going to be replaced by our first finger. That's going to be our F natural. G, A, B, and now we're going to do a fourth finger extension. We're just going to boop our fourth finger up a little bit and back down the same way. A, G, F, shift down to second finger, same way we came, E, D, and C. All right, let's do that 2 times. So I'm gonna say the name of the note as I'm playing it the first time, and when we shift, and then the second time, we're just gonna play it through the second octave. So here's C, D, E, shift to F, G, A, B, extend to C, back down to B, A, G, F, shift to E, D, and C. Nice. I'm going to do that one more time. 1, 2, ready, go. Now, did you notice that as I went up, I had to pivot my elbow in more, right? So if you feel like you can't reach, maybe it's because your elbow is too far back, you could try pivoting it in, and that might give you that extra space that you need. And also, as I'm pivoting in, my thumb is also part of that process. So these are just things that you could look out for. Now, the first time you shift that high, it takes some getting used to. It might not feel the most natural, but the more we practice great form, pivoting in a little bit so we could get around, the easier that it will become. Okay, so those are the 3 blocks of our 3-octave scale. So why don't we try playing our 3-octave scale? Now remember the fingering where we shift, and remember that the top we just boop our 4th finger up for that extended 4th. And let's try it out. 1, 2, 3 octaves, go. And that is essentially how you play the C major 3-octave scale, at least. There are different fingerings for the different scales, and once you get to like E, F, G, there's a standard fingering, but of course when you're starting with an open string, it's going to have its own fingering. So you're going to have to learn a couple different varieties of fingerings as we go along with these 3-octave scales, but that's basically the gist of how it works. You're going to have to do multiple shifts, and you're going to have great form, but essentially it's really just scales. And we know how scales work, we know how scales sound. So if you think about it that way, I hope that it's a little bit less overwhelming. We're taking 1-octave scale, we're just building right on top of that. So I hope you find this helpful, and I will see you next time.